What's up, everybody? This is CW from the GOATcast podcast, and this is a segment from our newest podcast episode. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. A guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan, at the age of 40, was able to play all 82 games in his final season. But in that final season, it wasn't with the Chicago Bulls. It was with the Washington Wizards. And I did a short talking about how cool it was that Jordan did come back, and he actually donated his 2001-2002 salary to the 9/11 relief efforts, and that was admirable, very admirable. Somebody, I guess, thought I was trying to downplay that in the comment section, but I wasn't. That is admirable. That is somebody of that stature giving out his. And I haven't looked up the numbers, but I'm sure Mike wasn't playing for pennies, so. Him giving that to the relief efforts was a cool little thing. When it was announced he was coming back, I knew this wasn't Mike coming back for his 7th and 8th ring or to take over the league. Jordan just wasn't that guy anymore. And especially once you saw him on the court, 38-year-old Mike he wasn't what he once was. His father time had definitely kicked in, beat him up a little bit. He just wasn't as athletic. You missed the explosiveness. I mean, he could do it in small doses, but you saw a more methodical, a much slower Mike on both ends of the court. But we tend to look at Washington Wizards Jordan and act like he was just Brian Scalabrine out there. We act like he was just fodder and was just out there just, I don't know, putting up pedestrian numbers. Mike wasn't putting up MVP level numbers. No, he wasn't doing that. But he was putting up numbers that in the league now, even now, would be solid numbers. Mike took a dip in his scoring during that time, but if you look at the numbers, they really were on par with what he did throughout his Bulls run. His rebounds were close to the same. His assists were about the same, if not more, in his 2001-2002 campaign. And even in that 2001-2002 team was on par to be in the playoffs. He had them actually playing some decent basketball. He got hurt. He had his knee issue. In that 2001-2002 season, injuries did affect, Jordan. He tore cartilage. He had a lot of knee issues. So the eye test kind of showed that he wasn't quite, the player that he once was, which was to be expected. He had been out of the league for almost 3 years, two to 3 years, and hadn't played real meaningful basketball in that time. I mean, I'm sure of course, Mike kept himself in shape, but, being in shape and playing a full NBA game and a full NBA season are two different things. So he came back and was pretty good, I felt. And I think that because of who he is, we kind of don't give him a pass because he is considered the GOAT by many. So him coming back and not wowing, him not making the playoffs, his scoring being a little bit less than normal, even though he did lead the Wizards in scoring that season, but it wasn't the dominant Michael Jordan. And I think but he was with a new cast, a new crew, and he tried to make it work, even though he got into his bad habits of, trying to do everything himself, which of course is never going to work on an NBA team. A team sport, you can't just do everything. But in Jordan's case, he tried to, because he was playing with some young guys. He tried to, I guess, take over, which is admirable at his age, at that age, but that wasn't going to equate to winning basketball. Even though they were in contention to be a playoff team before he subsequently got hurt and he missed a lot of time. In this final season, like I said, his numbers other than scoring were on par with the rest of his career. His rebounding, his assists, his steals were pretty much close to the baseline of what he was doing in Chicago. So was Michael Jordan the greatest player in the world during his Washington Wizard tenure? No. That's obvious. It was a new day and age. It was a new league, and he failed the rigors of it. But does that diminish his greatness? No, not either. If he had come back and just stunk and been regulated to a reserve role or a role player role, that'd be one thing. But he was still the alpha on that team. He was still the man on that team, and he still took over games when he had to. He wasn't, he just didn't have the clientele. 2001, 2002, if he went to the Los Angeles Lakers or San Antonio Spurs or a team like that, we'd probably be talking differently, because he may have been able to be that piece to put a team over the top. But that didn't happen. And he was part owner of the Washington Wizards. So he was trying to bring in ticket sales and to get that, they were rebranded at that time due to switching over from being the Washington Bullets to the Washington Wizards. So it was, I think, just as much business as it was his desire to get back on the court. And, his desire did lead him to 2 seasons that wasn't as legendary as his Bulls run, especially his late or 90s Bulls runs. But they were still productive, and they just add to the lore and to the mystique of Michael Jordan. He came back after retiring, and he played some solid basketball. That's all we could ask. See, when he came back, I wasn't expecting championships. I just wasn't. I don't know about you. Maybe you were, but I wasn't. And at the end of the day, he came back, he entertained the crowds, and he left pretty much on his own accord, finally, and hasn't been back since. And I appreciate what he did, especially with that relief effort, donating his salary and things of that nature, and just trying to help the Washington Wizards to grow as a team.